Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Health and Wealth Podcast with your hosts, Tim and Carter.
What's trending, Enrichers? Carter Wilcoxson, founder of CSI Financial Group here, with my co-host and former wealth advisor, Tim James, founder of
ChemicalFreeBody.com and your new health advisor. This is the show where we reveal the connection between physical and financial abundance.
Hey, welcome back, Enrichers. Carter Wilcoxson coming to you from home today, actually. Monday after, I guess Father's Day was our last episode, so it's the week after Father's Day. Of course, now we've got 4th of July coming up right around the corner. And as is normal, I am joined here by my fantastic co-host, Mr. Chemical Free Body himself, Tim James. Tim, how are you doing? Even though I know you're doing awesome. What's up, my man?
Well, summer's officially here, man. It's hot now in Oregon. It's been the latest spring I've ever seen. Tons of rain, and it just stopped. Now it's 95 degrees. So
yeah, it kind of
it's hot. We had to go by. I had the gentleman I'm having help me, Jeremiah. I said, dude, we got to go get you a hat. So we went to the store and got him a big straw hat to wear. And I said, you got to wear long sleeve shirts because, you got to get up early. So we work early in the morning and then do stuff inside during the middle of the day, and then, go back out in the evening and finish working while it's cooling off. It's the only way to do it when it gets hot like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, as our listeners know, so I know a little bit about some heat, right? So it's funny you say that. It happens every single year where, during our season, it's like 115, right? It feels like it's never going to break, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's 75. It's the weirdest thing. Of course, now in reverse, the same thing happens, right? Where it's like, man, it's 78 degrees every single day. Then all of a sudden, boom, it's 115 again. So,
dude, 75 and 78 is awesome.
Yeah, I'll take it. It's 6 months out of the year. It's pretty nice. So I am I'm dealing with that summertime for sure, but we're just sort of what we've grown accustomed to. No doubt about it. But I'm pretty excited about our guest today, and I want to go ahead and bring in Kevin Mayo. Kevin Mayo, who has an MBA, he's a CFP. He's got an incredible backstory. He's with Falcon Wealth. He's out in California. I believe that is correct. Is that right, Kevin?
Yeah, that's correct. I'm sitting in our office in Ontario, California, and couldn't help but overhear you guys talk about the weather. It's definitely a warm one out here. We're what's known as the Inland Empire, so kind of off the coast from Orange County, LA County, about 40, 50 miles inland, and it can be 115 there in the desert. And then I experienced a monsoon because I was just below Pine, Arizona, just a couple of days ago, and went for what was going to be a nice little hike. And then next thing I know, it was a monsoon, it was hail, and I was wearing a t-shirt and some sneakers and was soaking wet and freezing, getting pelted with hail within just a few brief moments. So, talk about
that's crazy.
Some weather changing in a brief period of time. I experienced it firsthand, some of Arizona weather.
Yeah, our weather can definitely be weird. Well, this time of year, it is our monsoon season. It's typically 6 to 8 weeks long. Usually almost every afternoon you get some bunch of clouds blowing in, and sometimes it's super active, and sometimes it whimpers out and doesn't do anything. But you got the benefit of it actually monsooning on you.
Yeah, and I was surprised how quickly the temperature dropped. That was the piece that was a bit surprising, because it was like, hey, there's no way it's got to be in the low, it's got to be in the 60s. I mean, we were chilled with the boat pretty quick. So, but at least the hail was only pebble size and not any bigger.
Oh, that's good. Well, it's interesting. So you're talking about Ontario, California. Obviously, I know right where that's at. Me and my wife were married in a little city called Laverne, which, if you are in the Ontario, upland area, right? I mean, you probably know right where that's at, San Dimas area, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I know your area very well. Flown into the Ontario airport many times.
Love that airport. Very, very short wait time. I can park really close to the terminal. I used to travel quite a bit in my past, and that airport was very easy to use, although you normally had to get a connector flight somewhere. But just the fact you didn't have to drive into LA and deal with LA traffic and LA parking and LA security checkpoints and
Yep.
everything else. I can tell you stories about how I would fly to Ontario, only to fly into Phoenix on a short layover to fly to Hawaii, just because it made more sense than to driving all the way into LA, dealing with traffic, and then on the way home, kind of rolling the dice about what traffic would be like to drive from LA to where I live. And you just do the math and you go, you know what, I'm better off taking this connector up to San Francisco than on to Hawaii, which was one of the territories I had to cover, or go back to Phoenix and then on to Hawaii. You just do the math and go, no, I think I'm still better off doing it this way. So
Yeah. Well, that right there is a great segue into why you're probably a phenomenal planner, and we're going to get into that in the second segment. But enrichers, get ready. We're getting ready to peel back the layers of the onion of Kevin Mayo and find out about all the reasons on his why and his backstory. So let's go ahead and jump right on into it, Kevin. The enrichers like to hear the stories of the advisors that come on this show. And, what was it that originally for you, if you can remember back, that, was there an influencer along the way? What was it that drove you to get into the financial services business in the first place?
Well, my family all came from more trade unions, plumbing and things like that. My father, my uncles. But I always kind of pictured myself having some kind of white collar type job. So I ended up going to school and then working on a degree in political science, thinking I was going to go to law school. But what happened was I worked at a restaurant when I was in high school. And then my stepfather, who used to own a series of beauty supply stores, he wanted to open up another business. So I said, well, it was pizza place I was working. I said, we could do this. It's pretty easy to do. I was doing all the books, doing all the ordering, things like that. So, he put up some capital. We opened up a restaurant, then one became two, and that paid for college and my first house, and then before long I just got done with my degree and just realized there was no place to go to law school that was close by where I lived, and so next thing I knew I was in the restaurant business kind of full time, and but then I realized that I didn't want to be in the restaurant business full time.
It's a hard business, right?
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, working with, some not so motivated teenagers and what have you. Most of your business is done on the weekends, at night, and every time you planned any kind of, get away, get out of town, it just inevitably that's when all of a sudden you had issues with staffing and things like that. Although, I feel blessed that it, like I said, it paid for college and it helped me buy my first house, and but it also led me to understand that I didn't really feel like that was what I wanted to keep doing the rest of my life. And so while I was doing that, I started dabbling and doing a little bit of insurance and investments and things like that. I also for a brief period of time, I did a little bit of teaching, just because I had time during the day, and I had a lot of friends who said, you should go get an emergency credential. You have all of your degrees and you don't do anything all day, because my restaurants were at night mainly.
Right.
I did that for about a year, and I realized two things during that short portion of my teaching life. And the first is I now know why some species eat their young. And I also know that I don't like kids that well. No, I tease, but yeah, it was challenging. And then I realized that the number one job in that profession is to be a PE teacher. those guys they just have the life. Between the passing periods and the shower bells, they spend most of the time in the locker room doing nothing. And then they roll out, to the blacktop for about 20 minutes before the bell goes off again. And you roll back in, and between the passing periods and the shower bells and everything else, like, you guys don't really do any work. So,
Yeah.
But I did the insurance piece for a while. And while I was doing that, it was more like I had a business, and I was involved with organizations that was kind of like building your own another business in the form of insurance. And I really wasn't at that time. I was like, I already have a full-time business. I was looking for something to plug into during the day when I wasn't busy. And then I ended up getting involved with a company called TD Waterhouse, or Waterhouse Securities. Years ago, they later became TD Ameritrade, which now has been purchased by Schwab. But I was right at the dawn of the internet trading aspect. But I worked hours from 6 till 2, which worked really good with my restaurants in the evening. And so, I kind of started not fully licensed, got licensed pretty quickly. The business was growing so quickly that pretty soon I had my license. And then within a short period of time, because it was growing so fast, I went and got a principal's license. So I got a special accommodation, even though I didn't have enough time in to get a principal's license. And we were an NYSE firm at the time. So I was blessed that I jumped in right at the time, and it was just crazy. Funny story. I worked as a margin clerk as part of one of the jobs I had to do, working with internet traders. And so people are trading their own account. I'm simply just, kind of facilitating.
Right.
I ended up having to sell out my high school math teacher because back then the technology wasn't that great. And sometimes you would feel like the order's not going through, and people would just push the button over and over and over again. Right. And they say, no, they ordered, like hundreds and hundreds of shares of, let's say, Netscape at the time, or that company. And I had to call him and explain to him, well, do you have the money to pay for it? He's like, I only ordered 100 shares. Like, well, our system shows you entered the order like 12 times. So I didn't want to explain to him math, but he was my algebra teacher in high school. So that was a fun call.
That's a funny story. So then you started going down this path of financial advising. Now, about what time? Like, what's the year right now that you're making these sort of like parallel tracks that you're running on between restaurant business at night and getting more into the financial services business? Yeah.
So I sold the restaurant business. I sold. What happened was we had 2 restaurants. My stepfather had one that he ran in a different city, and then I had one in a different city. And he was at a point where he wanted to retire, so he decided to sell one. Well, when that one went up for sale, I have a lot of friends in the business, and someone said, well, I noticed you're selling that location. Are you interested in selling the other one? And at the time, I had been promoted multiple times in my career at TD Waterhouse was really going well, and I just said, yeah, make me an offer. I'm tired of this business. Didn't really want to be in it anymore, and so someone made an offer, and I wanted to get more of a regular routine, 9 to 5 Monday through Friday type situation. So I decided to pursue that, and so I did, and then. Really, the registered investment advisory business for me, we used to do a lot of, we were a custodian for a lot of RIAs. And over time, I had built a relationship with some of them because we did these referral networks. They're popular, Fidelity, Schwab, TD Ameritrade. Well, I ran a branch office where in Rancho Cucamonga, right down the street from here, that we were able to be the number 1 office in the country, out of 100 and some branches. And I just understood the power of that business. in good markets and bad. And during that period of time, I built up, a very good sales team that consistently won the top awards and prizes. And then one day, one of the gentlemen that worked for me decided he wanted to go out and be an RIA on his own. And so I hated to lose him. He was a absolute A player. You kind of know when you hire talent, always try to hire the best people you can. And so he left and decided he wanted to start his own RIA firm. And I stayed at then TD Ameritrade for a while longer. I moved around to a couple of different offices and ran part of some region, what they called a region back then. And my region was pretty good. I got to tell you, I go to these national conferences and people they would wonder if I had naked pictures of senior management or something like that, because I had a territory that was Hawaii, Las Vegas, Palm Springs, and Rancho Cucamonga. And I would go to these national conferences and regional conferences, and people walk up and be like, okay, I got 4 branches too. It's like Detroit, Peoria, and, Cleveland, right? So there would be a situation and be like, this is just not fair. And I'd be like, listen, I don't know what to tell you, man. But during that process, I understood the power of the registered investment advisory business. Mm-hmm. It was a very big business for the custodians, and I just got to watch a lot of them operate, and I watched people make mistakes. I watched people grow too fast and not kind of figure out how to get sales tied up with service and things like that. And so did my staff that work with me. And one of them in particular, Gabriel Shaheen, who's the principal of Falcon Wealth Planning, he went out, worked for an RIA for a little while, and decided he was just going to open his own RIA. And during that period of time, I transitioned to a private bank, and I was working for their wealth management group, helping them build out a branch network. But I stayed in touch with Gabriel, and during the course of that, he would call me and ask for my opinion, ask for mentorship. And this business is small, and you end up keep running into the same people, and over time, he just kept growing and growing, and he asked me to join his firm a couple of times. And to be honest, I love him to death, but he was too small, and I'd watched the business too much, and the market had been good with no bad periods, and that always concerns me, is that what happens when things aren't going as well. But every time he'd come to ask if I would be interested in joining him, I would say no. I had kids in college at the time and things like that, so I was trying to make sure I had a pretty steady situation. And then every time, though, he'd come back, he'd be twice the size as he was before, And so we talked, and one day he called me on a day where I was just not feeling it where I was at, although I usually get on pretty well with everybody I work with, and I'm pretty Pollyannish at times. I just kind of caught me on a day where I wasn't. It was a long drive. I think I had to drive to San Diego or something. The traffic was bad. He called me. He didn't even he just wanted to know if I knew anybody, because he was then looking for talent, and I tried to keep a really good network. And so when he did, it turned out that I said, well, I know somebody may want to work with you. And he goes, well, if you're telling me you may be interested now after turning me down like 2 or 3 times, and I'm just hanging up the phone right now, and we're going to lunch. And so we went to lunch, and we talked, and before I made a decision, I came and watched his operation. I watched how it operated. I watched what was happening as far as the growth, and I went and watched one of his seminar presentations that he would give, and I watched people gravitate towards what he was doing, which was advice with a heavy focus on taxation. And and it just kind of dawned on me that that was that what he had was a good engine, that he had taken all of the smart things that we had seen people do right, and he'd retained those, and then he'd seen all the mistakes that advisors that are still around to today, very good advisors, but just kind of was able to sharpen that or lessen the learning curve.
Yep.
And that was, that was really the turning point for me. And then we sat down and kind of talked about what it would mean for me to make the change, and what he wanted from me as far as leadership within the firm. So I went from somebody who had been the manager, the mentor, to somebody that came to work for one of the people that I had managed and mentored. And life kind of works that way, and you're blessed with the people you run into in life, and I feel that way.
Great story, man. Great story.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, it's like, it just goes to show people like why it's so important to follow up and be persistent. Yeah, because if that guy wasn't persistent in following up, you wouldn't be sitting where you're sitting right now.
Yeah,
you might be having road rage driving to San Diego in 115 degree temperature right now.
Yeah.
That's good, man. I'm glad you're where you're at, brother. So we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to get into more of the day-to-day activities that Kevin and his team are doing over at Falcon Wealth in California. We'll be right back.
Estate planning. What does that even mean? When the inevitable happens for everyone on this planet, your estate plan kicks into action. But first, let's start with what an estate is. An estate is simply everything you own. Now, here's the issue and what needs to be understood when this event occurs. You only have two choices on this plan. Number one, either you plan how your estate gets handed out and distributed to those you leave behind. Or number two, your state decides who gets everything you own. For the first time ever, you can now take complete and total control of this plan that you've been deprived of for most of your life and generations before you. You can get personalized assistance along the way with a team of specialists whose job it is to make sure you have true peace of mind. It's important to understand that estate planning is a journey, and rest assured that our team will be available to you all along the way and at every step. Welcome to eState Plan, home of the last estate plan you'll ever need. To learn more, make sure to reach out to your local advisor licensed with us, or go to our website for more information.
What's up, Enrichers? Tim James here with my co-host Carter Wilcoxson. Today in the house, we've got Kevin Mayo. Kevin, that was a really good story about what you did in the past and how you end up over at Falcon Wealth. Now, Carter had a question for you. Why don't you just go ahead and ask the question, Carter, and lead it, because I know you wanted to finish up on that, but we ran out of time in the first.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I kind of want to talk about, you've got your MBA and you've made the decision, the leap, if you will, to go from where you're at to now you're going to go work full time with Gabriel. You obviously you had an appreciation for his growth, and you bought into, it sounds like, the vision, so to speak. So having an MBA and being a CFP, how is having that and now working with Gabriel, how's that been now that you are fully immersed over there at Falcon Wealth Management?
Well, we're a planning first firm. What we do is we focus on the planning aspect of the business first and foremost. So I have my CFP. I had actually encouraged people back in my days with TD Ameritrade to go get CFPs, because I saw that's where the business was going a decade earlier. And I actually said, hey, if you guys go, I'll go. And so as a team effort, I went and decided to take some courses to get a CFP. And I never finally sat for the exam, but I kind of passed all the coursework to be a CFP. And then later on, I wanted to work on an MBA because it was really more in line with the fact that I had been moved into mid-level management, senior management. And I ran into an RIA, a guy who works for a large RIA firm who teaches as a professor at California Lutheran University. And they had at the time one of the few master's programs where you could get an MBA and the CFP at the same time. So I applied, and because I had so much coursework already in, I was able to basically jumpstart my MBA, get my CFP and my MBA at the same time from California Lutheran University, which is a very good and recognized school in the space. So, that's important for us because the people who meet with our clients, the person in the room is always a CFP, because we've got to be able to answer the important questions for them, not just around investments, but around taxations, around real estate, around various government programs, Medicare, Social Security, things like that, and make sure business owners, be able to speak to them and add value to the conversation.
Yeah, so that's actually a perfect segue into you mentioned that you got a chance to watch Gabriel's seminar. I think you called it a seminar presentation, right? So, so what does the clientele look like that you're seeing? And obviously, if there's growth and there's substantial growth, obviously you guys are doing something right. What is it that that your current clientele likes working with? Not necessarily just with Falcon, but also, the role that you play whenever clients are coming on, working with Kevin Mayo too.
Yeah. So, the fact is that even business owners a lot of times don't understand things around taxation. So that's kind of the thing that was a kind of a lead in. But the seminars and stuff that we would do, a lot of times are just around retirement and retirement income planning and how to get the most out of your pensions, Social Security, how the tax rules and how you're taxed on your accumulation phase in life and then on the distribution phase in life. Now, my role is the managing director is kind of twofold. I sit in on some of the larger cases. I just have a lot of background. I've been a business owner, and relative to some of the other advisors, I'm a little bit longer in the tooth. Okay. So my job is both coach, train some of the other advisors, come in on the larger cases, take over some of the larger cases as their direct point of contact going forward. So that's kind of my role, if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it really does. And I'm just wondering when you're filling the room, so to speak, right? Because a lot of the advisors that come on this podcast, they're doing the same type of an educational event, around some sort of topic, whether it be taxation, retirement income, estate planning, Social Security, whatever. It runs the full gamut, right? But I'm just wondering, are you trying to identify like what your ideal candidates, clients are like?
Yeah.
Who do you want sitting in the room, and who are typically coming on to become clients of yours?
Yeah, and thanks for recasting that question. So, we're in a really good space if we're dealing with people that are maybe 10 years out from retirement, all the way into folks that are retired. If they're nearing retirement and they're a business owner in particular, because there's just so many more levers to pull when you're talking about taxation, when people own their own business, maybe they own commercial real estate along with the business they run. Maybe they're operating out of their own commercial real estate. There's a lot of additional levers to pull. So that's kind of really our sweet spot, are business owners, pre-retirees, where there's still some chance to do some changes before you get to the very final stages of retirement. I mean, we can help folks that are in retirement just as well, but there are some additional levers to pull, I always like to say, in order to really maximize how this all comes together. So, 10 years out of retirement really puts us in a good sweet spot.
Nice. So you're so it sounds like the actual events then, are you able to identify those people with however way you pre-select? I mean, I'm sure you're not just throwing up against the wall and seeing if it sticks, and whoever shows up to these events,
Well,
you're or does it just happen to be people come to an event based upon the topic, and sometimes they're business owners and sometimes they're not?
Yeah, if we're doing certain seminars, there's going to be obviously a draw for some more than others. So a lot of times it's just maximizing retirement income. Now that's something that you'll get a lot of folks that are already really close to retirement or maybe just into retirement. If it's more trying to understand changes to the tax laws, things like that, then a lot of times that'll cast a net that's a little bit wider, and people are a little bit more concerned with taxation. So a lot of times that'll be business owners. We do the seminars, but we also Gabriel's running a radio program on a regular basis where there'll be a lot of random calls that come in and things like that, and that'll cause us to go down a certain pathway conversation. But I hope that answered your question as far as our target client.
Yeah, it does.
Retiree.
Yeah, it does. So are you getting a lot of your new clients then from the radio show, or is it more from the seminars that you guys have then?
Well, the seminars were a very good lead item a couple of years ago. It kind of fell away somewhat because of just the pandemic and nobody coming in the room. We've tried to do it in a virtual format, just not as impactful because it's always better to be in the room, right? Yeah. It's always better to get the reaction from the audience, that sort of thing. But we also are we have a lot of marketing. In fact, that's probably one of the things I should have said early on. One of the things that we're most known for, and we were covered on another very well-run podcast in this space, is we spend more marketing dollars than anybody does. I mean, it's not even close. It's not even close. Okay, but our growth rates, we can justify it with our growth rates as to why we do it. And in fact, in December, we were recognized as the second fastest growing RIA firm in California, obviously largest state. And it really gets down to, we spend a lot more money on marketing, but it's not just the spend, it's knowing what to do with it and how to spend it and how to follow up on the spend. So, and that's a core part of what we do is the marketing component.
Well, so with and that's a great segue into you brought up the pandemic. How has the outcast or the outreach for clients that maybe are not in California? Have you guys started? Since obviously my guess is you can probably do business with clients all over the United States, right? Mm-hmm. Have you had a more California-based clients, or are you doing a lot of marketing things that can bring in assets under management from clientele all over the country?
Yes, we're first of all we started as a California firm. We're state registered now. We're nationally registered, but we project into Oregon, Washington, and one of the reasons I was experiencing that monsoon is I have a number of clients in Prescott, Payson. And in Scottsdale, Phoenix, area as well. So, we do project out, and we've recently kind of come into some different marketing that we do that puts us to where we could pull clients from around the country. So, and then we have a number of clients that have started here and moved. I don't make any bones about the fact that I'm a financial planner. I'm not planning on retiring in the state of California. I think it immediately would impact my credibility to remain here in retirement. I joke about it all the time, but I'll be joining you in your great state of Arizona at some point in time. I have some land out there that I'm looking to build a house on, and I always joke with people I got to have an exit strategy for the state of California.
Yeah, well, I don't. By the way, I don't blame you on that. And so my in-laws actually live in Prescott, and I was just talking with my wife the other day. We're going up there for the 4th of July. The city
rodeo.
Well, so Phoenix, Scottsdale, Tempe, all of these, cities for some reason they have a supply chain issue for fireworks, but somehow Prescott having a fireworks show. So. I think it's definitely a lot more conservative base there in Prescott. So anyway, we're going up there and going to be enjoying 4th of July for the first time in a while, because everybody's been having supply chain issues or whatever it is that they're, not having it. Our club that we belong to and have for 6 years now, it was like the thing of the year. It brought all the families together, big, huge deal. We all sat outside. They had this huge fireworks show, and it was, the kids loved it from the time they were really little. And it'll be, I think, the 3rd year, maybe the 4th year in a row we haven't had it. So anyway, we'll be up in Prescott ourselves here for 4th of July.
Good.
Yeah. It's a great area. I love that area up there. My in-laws obviously, live up there, and they live in Prescott Valley actually. So it's we've been going up there for quite some time. And then my son, like 3 days later, has a 2-day golf tournament at Antelope Hills there, junior golf event that my wife will be staying up there for a few extra days. I think since we can work from home from anywhere, I may be trying to get out of the heat and enjoying a little bit of that higher elevation in Prescott. Maybe we'll get a little bit of a rain shower while we're up there too.
Yeah, I plan on building a house up there. I'll share something with you, as I'm pretty transparent. I'm a widow. I'm a recent widow, about 18 months. I bought a piece of property with my wife just a few months before she passed. It was sudden. She had a stroke. I bought the piece of property right next to my in-laws, her parents, because the idea was that we would build next to them and keep an eye on them as they got older. They were like, great, you can watch our place when we go RVing all the time, right? So I still plan on doing that, and I'm very close to my in-laws. So Prescott is probably where I see myself retiring at some point in time.
Yeah, there could be worse places, right? And then, and we didn't get a chance to talk in the first segment. Maybe this is a good one to end on as we get to the third segment here in a moment. But you've got some kids, obviously, right? So obviously, it's kind of hard not to be close with the in-laws now, especially. And then you got the kids and everything. So how are they dealing with all of that stuff? And I thought I saw some girls, right?
Yeah, so I'm blessed. I have two grown daughters. Very proud of. One of them, when you said this could be repurposed and repackaged, she's already like going like this because she actually handles social media for the firm. She came on board about a year ago, and every time I turn around, they give her another job, another thing they want her to do. She's just has an unlimited appetite to do stuff for us. So she does so many things for the firm already, and now she's handling our social media. Occasionally she's even my carpool buddy because she still lives at the house with me. She's my older daughter, and she's my roommate now, basically. And then my younger daughter, she's in a little different direction. Extremely proud of her. She graduated with a 4.6 in high school, gave the speech at graduation. Wow. So I had 4 seats for that. And then she went on to get a degree in mechanical engineering. And she's what you call wicked smart. Like we watched that movie Hidden Figures and the chalkboard and the black gals that were helping with the space. She's like watching, and we're sitting on the couch. She's like, oh, well, that's the formula for velocity or whatever. And I just looked at my wife like, where did she come from, right? So they're doing wonderful. I'm so blessed.
Wow, that's awesome. So then if you're going to move with your roommate, or are you going to have, has there been conversations about moving to Arizona then, or?
For me, it's a longer term thing. It's not like something I'm doing the next,
Oh yeah, sure.
But whatever. I'll always need a place to stay in California because I'll always have clients. I don't see myself retiring for many years. I really love my job. I love to make sense of what's going on with finance and taxation and stuff like that. So but eventually, there'll be a place for them to come, or they can, it'll be a place for me to come visit. I have a lot of family here, but more and more of them are all moving to Prescott. I tell you what, Prescott Valley, Chino Valley, all these people that are leaving Orange County, stuff like that. They're just selling very inflated houses and and buying themselves very nice spreads out in Arizona, as you're probably well aware. And the people who live in places like Prescott are cringing every day as we start to clutter their streets. So.
Yeah, there definitely, there's no doubt about that. Well, Tim, Kevin's got a pretty cool vibe, and I know we're getting ready to come up on the next break and everything. Was there anything you wanted to ask of him before we get moving to the third segment?
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, about your daughters and stuff like that. So you actually got one to work with you. That's really cool. And, I just know when you lose a loved one and stuff like that, it really changes the family dynamic and stuff like that. And I can tell that really, like, that obviously affected you, at a deep level and stuff like that. And you seem like a pretty happy guy, and you're doing your best to follow your excitement in life. So I just wanted to commend you for that. And I was just wondering, how'd your daughter get the job at the firm? Did she have somebody she knew there or something?
Yeah. No, actually, honestly, I had her interview simply because she needed to get some experience interviewing. She did not work in high school. We kind of made sure the kids just focused on school. And then she got a job at a JCPenney's, and she was working there, but she got her degree. And I'm like, okay, you can't keep working at JCPenney's. I didn't pay that kind of money to go to school. And, so I was like, hey, let's get you a couple of interviews. And, and JCPenney's is going bankrupt. So, and then I brought her in just to have her get a chance to get some interviews. And they interviewed, and they're like, we love her. Why don't we just hire her ourselves? We needed people for this and that and the other thing. And I'm like, I'll make her an offer. And ever since then, they're like, yeah, you should have told us you had her in the wings before. We could have used her.
Yeah. How old is she?
She's 26.
26 now. Okay, 26, cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, dude. Proud papa. Got a couple good girls, and I'm sure they'll appreciate the being close to grandma and grandpa. So that's cool.
Yeah, but
awesome.
I'm in a good space. I'm in a good space. God is good.
Amen.
There's a purpose for everything. So.
Awesome. All right. Well, this is a good time. We'll take a quick break. When we get back, we'll flip the script and let Kevin ask me anything he wants on health. We'll be right back.
You want the absolute best for yourself, and you want it to be easy. That's why we created Green 85. It helps with detoxifying the body gently. We're proud it's chemical-free, unlike almost all other supplements you'll find. Bottom line, Green 85 will get you healthier. We look forward to hearing what Green 85 did for you.
To get this product and our other amazing products, go to chemicalfreebody.com. That's chemicalfreebody.com.
What's up, Enrichers? Tim James here. I'm back with my co-host, Carter Wilcoxson. Again, in the house today, we've got Kevin Mayo from Falcon Wealth Management out of California. So, Kevin, this is the part of the segment, it's the health and wealth podcast. We've talked about your backstory, kind of what you're doing in the business. Now you just get to ask me any questions you want about health for yourself, friend, family member, public health in general. Just any question. There's nothing off the table.
Well, I mean, as far as on a personal level, I recently, about 8 months ago, was diagnosed as having diabetes. And this was after.
Is it type 2?
Yeah, type 2. And this was after losing 30 pounds.
No, it's actually good news that it's type 2.
Yeah, absolutely. But my question, I've heard it's reversible. And my goal would be to try to get off of medication, but just any thoughts you had on.
Are you on metformin?
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty much standard issue. Yeah, well, the good news is that I'll just tell you what I saw. Like when my little story, my buddy of mine got cancer, and chronic lymphocytic leukemia, which, by the way, I just found out that lymphoma, leukemia, there's Roundup claims there's a settlement program, cancer settlement program for Roundup. And I thought it was just the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, but it's B cell cancer, T cell cancer, follicular lymphoma, hairy cell cancer, mantle cell cancer, Burkitt cancer, and CLL, which is what my friend had. And I thought that was interesting. So anyway, we went to this clinic, man, and they put us on this. They changed our diets and our life and really educated us on how the body worked and helped clean up the gut and the blood, the fat, and the muscle tissue. And Dr. Clement told me that type 2 diabetes is not a disease. It is a lifestyle choice. So when you look at your body as a system, like your mechanical engineer, your other daughter, she probably knows about input, output, transport, conversion, and storage, and that's the basis of it's called a dumb system, and then there's an intelligent system, which we're supposed to be, right? Because we have a controller and we have a goal in mind, and your goal is to like be healthy and not have to take those pills and worry about what I just got off the phone with the guy. I got off the phone with the guy in his late 60s, and he's got neuropathy in his feet and his legs, and it's slowly getting worse. It's been, he just kind of ignored it like a lot of us ego-driven guys do. Oh, it's no big deal. And he was like, that'll go away. Hope that goes away. I did that for years with my rectal bleeding, actually, for 2.5 years because my digestive tract was a mess. And now it's spread up to his arm. So type 2 diabetes is a lifestyle choice because we saw people at Hippocrates on the program literally had been on drugs for up to 20 years. They were like 7 out of 10 of them were completely off all medications in 4 weeks. Like 4 weeks. 3 out of 10 still had to take a small dose of something because they just damaged their liver too much and they needed more time to heal. But so it's really a lifestyle choice. So typically what's going on with that one, what I've learned, and again, I'm not a doctor, just what I've learned as somebody with common sense, is that the sugar that's, you have high blood sugar, right? So what's happened is you really have most likely poor quality fats in your diet. And what I mean by that is even if you do have good ones, you're probably cooking them. So if you have poor quality fats in your diet, see, our cells have a fat membrane around them, or they call it a lipid membrane. Lipid and fat are same word, basically. It's just a fancy term for fat. So the lipid or fat membrane around the cell is poor. And so the glucose, which is the sugar, can't get into the cell because of that. That's the main reason. So you don't really have a sugar issue. You have a fat issue. You can't get the glucose into the cell. And on top of that, you're probably not drinking. Was that a pop you were drinking or water?
No, it's water.
Okay, so you're drinking water. So the quality of water that you put into your system is very important. It cannot be tap water. It cannot be bottled water out of plastic. And if the water has been through the city, it has to be restructured so it's actually absorbable. Because we want to get your cells full of water so that they can absorb nutrients properly and the glucose. The other thing is because of our stressed out life and the cooked foods, the processed foods, the irradiated foods, all the things they do to our food today, and the food chain's all messed up. We really need to restructure. Well, we have to restructure our water because what happens is nutrients aren't not getting into the cell. So if you have city tap water, it goes through these high pressure pipes and it makes the water molecules kind of coagulate. So they're not easily able to go through the intestinal lining and then get into the blood cell. So if you can hydrate your cells properly with really good water, you can improve your lipid membrane, that fat membrane around the cell, and reduce the cellular inflammation, and then start pumping in some really good nutrition into your body, you'll start seeing some results lickety split. And you're probably really good at measuring your blood sugars and all that. But, with type 2 diabetes, like when people go to Hippocrates, they really that's the most dangerous disease to have because when they go on that lifestyle, they get well so fast that the medication can then make them sick. So that's why they need to be under doctor's supervision. But what my experience is that people with type 2 diabetes are usually like blood sugar experts on their own. They're monitoring it every day, twice a day, 3 times a day. So they're on it. So they can kind of on their own kind of figure out that they need to pare down the medications as they're improving. But I always say, it should be under doctor's supervision. Again, I'm not a doctor, but this is just what I've seen happen. I've seen people do this on their own where they pare down on their own and they're off of it. So, those are, that's just there's tons of hope here, because you don't have to be, have this disease hanging around your head the whole time and worrying about if you're going to go blind or get neuropathy and have to have a toe cut off and this weird stuff, or just not feeling good. You should be able to wake up and frickin' feel good and amazing. And people just don't realize how good they can feel. I've been at this now, I think it's coming up on 12 years. And when I was 37, I was a mess. Like literally, I was rotting from the inside out. Now I'm 49 and I'm going to go trail run tonight for 7 miles like a jackrabbit. No problem. And I won't have any inflammation tomorrow on my knees like I used to. So, you can turn your body around. So you just need to be an intelligent system. You have a goal and you can change those inputs until you get the desired result. And what we do is we just kind of help people, guide them along, because we've, coached so many people through the process, and we're all doing it ourselves over here, all of our coaches and stuff like that. So we're kind of like a health advisor, right? And just make it easy. You got your sweet spot, financial advising, and we do our health advising, and we have conversations that help guide people and create value so that they can go take action and get those results they're looking for. And if we share something with you and it doesn't work, don't keep it. Go to the next. And you keep adding these things into your lifestyle until you create an environment, both externally and internally, of your body that creates ideal health. And that's just as simple as that.
Now, I had to, and this is kind of surprising, I got on the metformin and they immediately prescribed me generic for Crestor, for cholesterol, and I don't really have any issues with cholesterol. But they said I had to they kind of want you to take both at the same time. And then you start questioning, well, if I don't really have an issue with it, why do I need to take it? But, well,
maybe they have some rationale for it. I don't know in your circumstances, but from, what I've learned from like Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai is one of the top immune system experts in the world, is that like literally down to a nanoparticle, because he is an engineer, right? So like a systems biologist. So he just knows everything, like I said, down to the nanoparticle. So the bottom line is with pharmaceutical drugs, 10% of them, they work for people, but the other 90%, there's side effects and they don't work. That's the numbers. So for me, it's just like, I wouldn't, it's like, I always say, my analogy is like, if you're buying a car, or your wife wanted to buy a car, and you go down to the dealership, or your daughter, in this case, for you, wanted a car, and you help her, she gets the car, picks it out, and then she's driving out in front of you and the car explodes. 9 times out of 10, either a wheel falls off, a door falls off, or the car explodes. Would you go back to that dealership? Probably not. Or buy that type of car again, right? Probably wouldn't. Would you sue the manufacturer? Probably. If your daughter was dead, you would do it. You'd sue them. You're going to go after where the money is. But with vaccine manufacturers, you can't sue them. They have laws. 1986, the Vaccine Act, thanks to the Kennedys, they've identified themselves from being, so you can't sue them if anything happens to them. You have to go to vaccine court. A little money set aside every time somebody purchases for that, and then you basically go through the government. So it's like DMV getting compensation for that, and then you have basically a gag order. You can't say nothing afterwards. So imagine that your car explodes, your daughter dies, and you can't tell anybody anything if you did get some compensation. To me, that's a little fishy, right? So the whole thing it's not the doctor's fault and the nurse's fault. They're just in a bad system, man. They're just good people, probably just trying to do the best they can, and they're kind of handcuffed with standard of care. So my belief is we have a natural body from nature. Your body's made of water. Where do you find that in nature? You're made of gut. You have bacteria in your gut. You find those in the soil, same bacteria. You're made of minerals, your bones and stuff. You get that in the soil. And when we die, the cycle of life, man, we go back into it. So the mothership is Mother Earth, the air, the water, the food, and our sleep and all that stuff. And all we have to do is get this man-made garbage out of our blood intercellularly and clean up our fat and our muscle tissue and clean up our digestive tract and just basically plug ourselves back into nature and let our natural body heal itself. That's what we've been promoting for years, is like, become your own doctor, learn how to self-heal. And the cool thing is when you do this, you get the satisfaction of knowing that you're in charge of your health and you don't have to worry anymore about it, because you you have a lifestyle that supports ideal health. It's awesome, dude. It's really awesome what's possible. I can tell, like right now, I already know that you're a type of guy, you're going to take action on this. If you get some new knowledge, you're going to take action. You're going to get those results.
I definitely am doing a lot of reading these days and a lot of trying to educate myself and trying to change eating behaviors and doing not trail running, trail walking.
Good. Walking is amazing for the body. You're moving your lymphatic system. It's good for the cardiovascular. It's really good. That's great. Walking is the Seventh-day Adventists down in Loma Linda, California. That's one of the blue zones where people have the most centurions. People live to 100.
Yep.
And number four on the commonality was moving. They move their body daily. We look at that. It's those four top. I've talked about this before, but the people that live the longest, they had four. Loma Linda, California, Sardinia, Costa Rica, Okinawa, Japan. All around the world, there's these zones where people live the longest, and the four commonalities were lifelong friends. We're so tribal. We have to have friends, good friends, people that we can know, like, and trust and love us. And friends are just the family you choose, right? And it could be family members too. And then number two, we respect our elders. That was a common trait in those cultures. Number three was an 80% plant-based diet or greater. And then number four was space. And it was the first thing I just told you.
Walking, moving.
Yeah, movement. They walk. Like people in Loma Linda, they go hike and walk all the time. They get every day. They do it every day.
I hike in the hills of Loma Linda.
Yeah, that's awesome.
In various areas right around that.
Yeah. And for you down there, you're going to need a good air purification system too in the house, because when the fires hit, I mean, it's just like, that's not good for you. So yeah, there's a lot of things we can do, man. We can, Carter will hook you up afterwards if you want, and we can kind of dial you and get you on a path if you want, and get your air cleaned up, your water cleaned up. Just create a great environment for your body to thrive, basically, and then let your body do the rest.
Sounds like a good plan.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Any more questions, man?
How much movement per day? Is there a certain that, it's getting a little different for everybody, but what's a threshold?
Yeah. It's different for everybody. It really is. What I would recommend is that you move your body daily. That's the most important thing. The habit is more important than the amount, right? And when you do that, just like
sound like a planner now.
Yeah. Well,
I tell that to young people all the time. Listen, I don't care how much you put aside. Just build a habit. I don't care how much your kids put aside. Just have them build the habit. Then it's easy to go from a smaller amount to a larger amount.
Yeah, and you just naturally do that. It's just like I started playing guitar. I made a commitment 10 minutes a day, and now I'm like, I'm going to go play 2 hours. It's a lesson night, and, I become friends with my instructor, so said get an hour, we'll play for 2-3 hours. We'll do instruction, then we just jam and hang out, and it's a good time. And my learning curve is just like, whoop. Same thing's going to happen with your money, whoop, and your health. Whoop. It's going to go up when you make consistent. It's a lifestyle. It's like I always say, like a white-tailed deer in nature, minus the glyphosate that's flying around in the rainwater and all the garbage that he's got to breathe in. But in a deer, they have a habit. They have habits. They have patterns. They walk down to this certain creek and drink water at pretty much a certain time, and they go over here to this field and eat that and eat this over here, and they bed down under this tree, and they mate in the fall, and spring they got babies, and it's a system, and it's a pattern. And the reason why you have type 2 diabetes is your pattern is just off a little bit. You're off course. So we just slowly start changing that pattern, and your body will bring itself back into balance. Like I said, it's really just that simple. It's not rocket science. It's pretty easy.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. I'll have to connect with Carter and get a little more information on it.
Awesome, brother. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, appreciate you coming on, man. You had a great guest and great stories. And anybody in your area that's working with your firm, I know, is going to be very blessed to have you guys helping them manage their money and their tax burden and minimizing that and stuff. And I know that they're going to really enjoy the social media over there too.
Yeah. I think so. We got somebody good on the job.
That's awesome.
I'm as objective as can be.
You're the most objective person in your organization. I'm sure of it. So Well, hey, Kevin, we want to just thank you for coming on and being a guest on the Health and Wealth Podcast. Enrichers, we want to thank you for joining us for another episode of the Health and Wealth Podcast, and to be able to see other phenomenal guests like Kevin Mayo of Falcon Wealth Management. You can go to our website at www.thehealthandwealthpodcastshow.com. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, or Google. So for my fantastic co-host, Mr. Chemical-Free Body himself, Tim James, I'm Carter Wilcoxson, CEO and co-founder of Epic Services Company and CSI Financial Group. Thanking you all for another coming on and listening to our fantastic guest that we had today. Kevin, thank you so much for coming on and gracing us with your presence, and your backstory is super cool. We're going to make sure in all of our show notes that they'll be able to have access to the About You page on your website, and also they can be able to get all of their additional information about Falcon whenever we send them there to that. So, Kevin, do you have any other questions or anything that you want to share with our enrichers before we get going?
No, just God is good. God is good always.
Yeah, amen. And make sure the next time you're in Phoenix, look me up and let's have a little coffee, have you over to the office or whatever. I'll get a chance.
He's going to get you out to the golf course. I already know what's going to happen.
I didn't share. I did win a car.
What? You won a car?
I had a hole-in-one and won a car. So.
Well, hello. We need to get a chance.
But what about the taxes? What about the taxes?
Listen, I never got a 1099.
No way. I never
got a 1099. I real quick story. I played in a tournament with Carl Karcher Jr., like the son of Carl. And I played with a foursome with somebody from work, and I played with this guy who ran one of the fleet managers. And in one tournament, we went to the hole-in-one car, and he said, if someone, I drove the car here, and I said, what happens if someone wins? He goes, well, I guess I'd have to ask him for a ride home. Well, not in that tournament, but a year or so later, I hit a hole-in-one in one of his cars. So as soon as I hit it, I was like, where's Chuck? I want to offer him a ride home. But yeah, it was
that's cool.
So
that's fun stuff in life right there.
It's all downhill though after that, Carter. It's like, what more can I do? I hit a hole-in-one. I won a car. I mean, I'm not going to be joining the tour anytime soon. So it's kind of all downhill from there. It's like, what more can I do that will top that?
Well, now we just go out, we dine out on it for as long as we can, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, we'll have to definitely play some golf when you come into town. Make sure you look me up, come over to the office, get a chance to press the flesh, and I'll take you out to my club. It'll be a lot of fun. I'll enjoy that. So bring your clubs when you're in town next time.
We'll do.
Awesome.
Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Hey, enrichers, until next time, we will see you on the Health and Wealth Podcast. Thank you, everybody. Hey, enrichers. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Health and Wealth Podcast. I'm your host, Carter Wilcoxson.
And I'm your host, Tim James. And by God, we are committed to helping you guys have fat wallets, flat bellies. So tune in again for another episode and make sure to like, share, and drink a lot of water.
Or beer.
You have just listened to the Health and Wealth Podcast with Carter and Tim.